Hey there, I'm Kim, and this is the Executive Assistant Playbook. Today we are talking about interviews, my most favorite thing. Just kidding. I actually really dislike interviews. In fact, I don't know anyone who loves getting interviewed for anything. I mean, let's get real. It can be so nerve-wracking, so uncomfortable because you don't really know who you're talking to or what their personality is like or what they're going to ask you. And it can feel like it's really hard to prepare properly in talking to these people. So if you have scored an executive assistant interview or you're applying for these type of jobs and you just want to be prepared to put your best foot forward, well, I am here to help. What we'll talk about today is some of my best tips and tricks in preparing for an interview, and then we'll go through some common questions that I have either been asked or I have asked when I was hiring someone. So let's get into it. First of all, you want to research the company and even the executive that you could be working with. So you want to come to the interview with prior knowledge and be able to say specifically that you know what that company is, that you know what they do, and you know their core values, even what they offer their employees of that company. You want to show that you were actually interested in working for them. So it could be that you have applied for a lot of jobs and this is the interview that you got. Even if it's not your top contender, you still want to come to the table with knowledge of that company and the things that you're curious about that company. So let's say you don't fully understand what they do. You want to at least be able to show interest in learning, because an executive assistant is often asked to be an important part of the business. And so you want to show that you are willing to do that and that you're curious about what they do. In terms of the executive that you could be working for, a lot of the time the job description will say who the role is reporting to. So you can easily go on the company website or LinkedIn to figure out who that person is, to learn a little bit more about them, just so that you're better prepared on what type of a situation that you will be working in. So the recruiter or the interviewer may even ask what sparked your interest in working with them. So coming in with, well, I love this core value of your company is such a winning thing to say. So be sure you do your research. Also, if this is an online interview, like via Zoom or WebEx or something like that, please make sure your technology is set up prior and that you have everything ready to go before your interview actually starts. The reason it's important to have your tools set up and ready to go is, one, you don't want to be late to your interview, but two, if your recruiter sets up an interview via a specific tool, let's say it's Zoom, then you not having that prepared and ready to go and having trouble getting logged into Zoom shows an inaptitude in that skill set. So if they set it up via Zoom, then that is likely the tool that they use mostly in that company and one that you would have to use for your executive. So definitely start out strong foot through the door, have your technology set up and ready to go so that the interview can start without a hitch, okay? Next, you're going to want to understand the job description and what they're looking for. So you could be asked questions based on what they've put in the job description. This is also a great opportunity to know if your skills match what they're looking for. I have found that often the skills are transferable and you'll see a lot of the same things in a lot of job descriptions across the board, but there can be really specific things that an executive or a team could be looking for in their EA. Like they want someone who's really good at project management or is really good at event planning or is really good at global travel. So you want to make sure that your skill set matches that before you get into the interview, or that you can at least say, maybe I'm inexperienced in this particular area, but this is what I'm willing to do to get up to speed to really impact this team positively. They'll also ask you about your experience and your career. My advice to you is to only give the Cliff Notes version. I think it's easy to get overwhelmed in terms of what to share about what you've done. I mean, I've been working since I was 17, so I've been working for a long time. And even though if you watched my career journey video, then you know that like I took a little bit to kind of go through step by step. That is not what I share in terms of what I share with recruiters or anyone else who asks. I only did that in case there are those of you that are curious to know how I got to where I am today. I only share about 3 to 5 minutes of that. So a super condensed version of everything that I have done so far in my career. And keep in mind that initial interviews are generally only 15 to 30 minutes long. And so you really want to make sure that you're giving yourself time to ask questions about the job and about the company, and also giving the recruiter time to ask questions about you and your skill set. And they've also read your resume. I mean, they have questions that they want to ask. So definitely give them that opportunity to do that, and keep your career journey about 3 to 5 minutes at most. You're also going to want to be prepared to answer questions about your communication skills, technical skills, planning and organization skills, and teamwork. We'll dive a little bit deeper into those things in the question section, but just know on the front end, those are some big topics that you'll have to talk about. Also, be prepared to talk about your strengths and weaknesses. This is my least favorite thing to talk about in an interview. I am a perfectionist at heart and like to pretend that I have zero faults, even though I have plenty. So having to talk about my weaknesses is just not fun for me. However, it is human nature for everyone to be imperfect. So everyone literally has their own strengths and their own weaknesses. You will not surprise anyone by having weaknesses and things that you need to improve in your life, because literally every single person on this planet has something that they have to improve. And that is a lifelong journey that never ends, friend. So it's always going to be something that you have to work on within yourself. So what they're looking for here is that they want to know how self-aware you are, how honest you can be with yourself and with them. And then also they want to know if you have the ability to take constructive criticism. So we'll also dive a little bit deeper into that, but that's why they're asking. So it is something that you definitely want to prepare. The final tip before we get into the questions is you need to think of this as an audition. So a lot of interviewers are trying to imagine you in this role and how you will fit within that particular team. So it's like a movie that's being played in their head, and they're really trying to visualize, do you fit? Could they see you being a great support system to, these executives or to this team? And the better picture that you paint, the better they'll be able to understand how you fit. Okay, so let's get into some really popular questions. And I will list these out in the notes so that if you have to come back to this, then you'll be able to see the timestamp of where these begin. Okay, so first up, how do you manage your time effectively to ensure that you are meeting deadlines and taking care of high priority items? This question really should just give insight into how you as a candidate manage your time and organize your day to ensure priority items are completed. So they are looking for time management, organizational skills, and strategies for completing priority tasks. So I do think it's important to note that as an executive assistant, your priorities are constantly shifting based on what your executive needs, what your team needs, and then what you need to get done across the board. And then also those priorities can change midday and you have to completely redo your plan for the day. That is quite common. I have had to throw away my plan for the day by 10:30 more times than I can count. So also acknowledging that, I think, is very important, that yes, you are structured and you know how to prioritize your day, but you're also flexible and can reprioritize based on the most urgent tasks that come down the pipeline. The next question, how do you respond when someone gives you constructive criticism, and what steps do you take to action their sentiments? Going back to strengths and weaknesses, like what we just talked about. Executive assistants should be able to take direction and sometimes constructive criticism to ensure that they are doing the best possible job for internal stakeholders. So what they're looking for in an answer is that you take your feedback seriously, and that you ensure mistakes do not happen more than once. And also an example will be very, very helpful here. So as hard as it is sharing your weaknesses, it will be equally as hard sharing this example, but it's very important to paint that picture of how you can take the constructive criticism, figure it out, and turn it into something really positive to move forward as a team. So definitely think about a time where you were able to do that and turn the train around. Next question. Do you have experience supporting more than one company executive? So depending on the size of the company, an executive assistant may actually support multiple company executives. So being able to manage multiple priorities and individual calendars is super important. It can be very challenging to keep all of those ducks all in a row, but they want to know that you are able to do that. And so they are looking for your ability to multitask, your ability to stay organized, your ability to work collaboratively, and your ability to stay cool under pressure. Because it can feel like a lot of pressure when you have all of these people coming to you needing things and needing to feel what it feels like is you just need to get them done right away, but you're just one person. So they want to know that you will stay cool and that you'll get the job done. Next question. How would previous executives you worked for describe you as an employee if they were to ask? They could also ask, how would your coworkers describe you? So the goal of this question is to get an understanding of what the job applicant is like in the workplace and what skills they bring. So they're looking for communication skills. Like, that's really what they're looking for. They are not looking for drama or hot gossip or anything like that. So let's say you had a really tense relationship with a previous executive. They do not want to know all the days of our lives drama. Okay, so do not share that part. Even you can be honest about having a tougher relationship, but what you should focus on is how you address that, how you kept it professional, how you kept your poise, how you used your emotional maturity to still get the job done. That's what you need to focus on if you want to be honest about a previous tense relationship. Okay? So next question. Do you have previous experience booking travel? And if so, what kind? The goal of this question is to get a better understanding of your previous experience booking travel and if you would need additional training to perform that task. So, again, they're looking for your experience to see if it fits their needs. What type of travel experience you have. Is it just domestic, international? Do you have any at all? And then your ability to build itineraries. So let's say you're applying for a job that involves a lot of global travel, and that is not something you are super experienced in. That it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but what you'll want to do is be honest about that and say, I don't have a ton of experience just based on who I've worked for in the past. However, this is what I have done to up-level my skill set in that area, because this is a way that I would love to grow in my career, and I have done XYZ type of research in the best way to plan global travel. And that should help you out a lot in that area. And that can apply to any skill set that you feel like you're lacking in as well. Next question. Do you take any particular steps to ensure you are anticipating the needs of the executives you oversee? So the goal of this question is just to see if you can understand the needs and wants of executives after working with them for some time. So they're looking for communication skills, intuition, interpersonal skills. Now, I will say this. There is no executive, there is no job that expects you to walk in on the first day and know exactly what an executive needs or wants and when to deliver it to them. There is always an onboarding period. There is always a get to know you period. So don't let that be a question that makes you nervous. You just need to clearly state that after, X amount of time. So examples are super helpful here. After 1 month, I was able to start anticipating needs for this executive in this way. And after 2 months, we were like a well-oiled machine, like things like that. They really, again, painting that picture is going to be super helpful there. So please don't feel like you have to immediately know an executive backwards and forwards within the first week, because that is just, it's not possible. It's not reality. And everybody knows that, but they have to understand that you are willing to take initiative and getting to know the people that you support and creating a way to support them in the best way possible. So, the next question, how do you prioritize tasks? So, we already talked about this a little bit, is that, you can create your priority list for the day, and then by 10:30 it can be thrown in the trash and you have to redo it. So this is really all about time management skills. It's also about flexibility. And, some good things to say here is to explain how you do prioritize everything. Do you have a to-do list? Do you time block on your or your executive's calendar? How comfortable are you in constantly updating your list based on new urgent requests? So you'll really want to go into detail there. I will say that, again, examples are super important because no one is just going to take your word for it. They really want to understand exactly how you're going to do XYZ for this particular job, okay? Moving on, which methods do you use to communicate clearly with executives? Executives are notoriously hard to get a hold of. So how do you plan on managing that? Because you are that executive's lifeline to staying prioritized and on task and making sure everything gets done. However, they can be very hard to get a hold of. So how are you going to manage that situation? How are you going to figure out how to keep them updated and apprised of everything that they need to know, as well as making sure they're telling you everything that you need to know in order to do your job? Next question. Which methods do you use to handle stressful scenarios in the workplace? We could also piggyback off of this and say that, they may be interested in knowing how you handle difficult people in the workplace. So, how do you take care of you? Because this is a very stressful job. A lot of stuff will be put on your plate to manage and to get things done. A lot of people will be knocking down your door trying to get answers from an executive. Your executive will, say who they need you to, block off from them. So you're constantly playing offense and defense, and it can be really exhausting and really stressful, and keeping up with deadlines and making sure that they're having the meetings that they need to have and they're getting to A to B on time, and there's a lot that goes into it. So what a recruiter is looking for here is that you have the ability to take a step back, take care of yourself. So if that looks like just taking 5 minutes to take yourself on a little walk, or going to get a coffee, or doing a quick meditation, or, just locking your computer and taking a breath and then getting back to work. Like, they want to know that you are not going to be someone that just takes in all of this stuff, just takes it in until you can't take it anymore, and then you'll explode. Like, they want to know that that this is a stressful job and that you have the ability to take care of yourself as needed, because you are the support system. You are the engine that keeps the train on the tracks. And if the engine goes off the tracks, so does everything else. So it's very important, again, going back to being able to keep your cool and taking care of yourself. So that's what they're looking for there. Difficult people kind of falls in line with that as well, because you are the support system, you are the gatekeeper, you are the first person in front of the executive. You'll get a lot of flack a lot of times. Sometimes people think that they can talk to you in a way that they would never in a million years speak to your executive. It can be hard. Like, you don't always receive the respect that you need in this role. And so that may come up. Like, how are you going to deal with that? First of all, you're not going to take it personally. You're never going to take it personally. Second of all, you're going to breathe. That's what you're going to do. And third, you'll get your manager involved if you need to. So just remember those things if those questions come up. And we can talk more about that in detail. I think it deserves its own video because it's a pretty complex topic. But just to get you through the interview, that's what you can say. So they will also probably want to know about a time that you delivered work ahead of schedule and the methods that you used to do that. That also kind of goes in line with demonstrating initiative, so which can tie into anticipating needs of an executive. So those are some questions that you could be asked to provide examples for. So that about covers all of the questions that are the most popular in an interview. That is not inclusive of everything that you could hear, but that should get you pretty far in your preparation process. In the next video, we'll talk about the questions that I think you should be asking your interviewer or your potential manager, because you definitely want to come to the table with questions about, if this opportunity is a right fit for you. Because this isn't just about them liking you and giving you a job. This is about you also wanting to be there and believing that you can make an impact without sacrificing a lot of yourself. So that will be in the next video, and I hope this was helpful to you all, and I appreciate you being here. Like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you next time. Okay.